Hey guys, Andy again, Spoken Table, back in the house on a Sunday evening. Now, anybody on the video side today will notice something a bit unusual here today. It may appear like I've got three guests in. That's not the case because it's all one gentleman. And it's fantastic, this gentleman he is. But there's a reason behind his madness today. So we will come on to that soon. So we've got the fantastic Peter Topping with me today. Now, I've been dealing with Peter for some years now, one way or another. But I finally met him properly, had a good chat to him over at Lindy Newton's book launch, who's been on Spoken Label recently as well. When she bought out a collection of her poetry with Peter's illustrations backing her, and Peter's now gone and done his own rhyming poems. And he put his hands in the camera, and I was like, I can't remember what the title of the book was. It's Rhyming Poems and Pictures by Peter. So we've got a lot of ground to cover with Peter today. So anyone's wondering, there is going to be no gap in this podcast today because Peter will read a few pieces out for us later on, but we're going to talk straight through because he's going to do it a different way. Now, Peter, like I said to you, mate, we've got a ton to touch on today, basically, mate. So give us the spiel, is a good word for it. Where you came from originally, what started you off with your creativity?
Right, hello everyone. So, I was born in Preston. You can probably tell by the accents. Born and bred, as they say. And I spent my early years in school learning how to be a man, and spent my formative years learning how not to be. And so here I am with my nice hat on, and I'll tell you a story about that later. So, coming from Preston, I went to a couple of colleges to learn my trade as an artist, and finished up coming to Manchester at the age of about 2021 when I went to work in advertising for an agency that was working with the catalogues. And so I did a few years in the catalogues. Then I moved to central Manchester itself as a studio manager for an advertising agency, and worked myself all the way up through to production manager. And then in the end, I had my own business. On the way, there was one or two interesting stories where I actually met George Best. I worked for a British Mail Order Corporation, and George was doing modelling at the time. And he wasn't up to being a model at all in his later years there, but he'd signed up for a large contract, so he had to do it. So my job was to sit with him and keep him happy. And we spent a lot of time not talking about football because he didn't want to talk about football. He just wanted to talk about Chorlton, where he lived, down at the Merseybank estate, and the horse and jockey. And so we talked about Chorlton, the horse and jockey, and the Merseybank estate. It's quite good in my early years to have this under my belt, because there'd be times where I'd be sat in the jockey with my mates, and who should walk through the door but George Best. And then they would sort of say, Best is here. And I go to looking around, and, oh yeah, there he is. And then all of a sudden he'd go, Peter, how are you doing? You know, and he's sort of in his Irish accent, which I'm not very good at. And, everybody was aghast at seeing him. So that was the sort of formative years there. In the later years, I got pally with a guy called Andrew Simpson, and I believe he's going to be probably on your blog at your story, not story, what's the word for it?
Podcast, yeah.
Podcast, sorry.
I'm going to drop, Andrew, if you're listening to this, I am going to be contacting you, right?
Yeah,
I've not done it yet as of recording, but we will be.
So I'm sure it'll be good for it, yeah. And so we set together doing history walls around Chorlton and history walks. And as we say, I create the pictures and Andrew tells the stories. So it was a great relationship we had. It did both his blog and my Facebook and website a lot of good, because people took more notice of us when we were together. So we went on from there. Later years, I got involved with the Arts Festival, became the Art Festival director for 4 years, and then went on to work with the virtual side of it, because that was something that I was always very keen on, because I thought that, the virtual and online side of the festival would be something that would be very much of the future. And later on, when Andy presses the button, I'll take you onto the virtual website and I'll show you what we've done with the arts side of it and also the literary side. We've created a festival which is the size of GMEX. If everybody remembers, it was called GMEX in those days. And so it's a large virtual site that you can walk through and have exhibitions there and tell the stories about whatever you're doing. So yeah, that's where we were with there. And I don't know how far you want me to go into the future now, Andy, but that was like up to now with writing with Lindy, should I say, illustrating the poems, and then having to go myself with the poems I've written.
Yeah, I think obviously this is really a spoken word podcast to a degree. So I want to look, there's a couple of things I want to talk about before we move into the future, certainly. Now, obviously, we've mentioned Lindy Nunes already twice now. How did you and Lindy first meet then?
Say again, sorry, Andy.
Sorry, yeah. First off, say we've mentioned already twice now that the wonderful Lindy Nunes, who's been on Spoken Label recently anyway, herself about a collection which you illustrated for her. How did you two first meet?
Okay, well, we live next door to each other
Oh, do you?
on
Oh,
Needham
wow.
Avenue,
Oh, I didn't know
and
that.
she knocked my back wall down,
What,
and
on
so
purpose or accident?
well, I think it was so that she could see through the window to see me reclining. There's probably another story behind there. Anyway, we got to know each other there. We started doing a bit. She did some stuff for when she went down London. She left the house in the care of her mother, and went to college down there. And we did a little bit of sort of writing together, or I sort of composed songs from some of her stories that she was doing. One of them was Last Night at the Punch and Judy, which is something that she still hasn't finished, but I put some songs together for it, and we just got on together. You know, it's just good friends.
Yeah, she's great. Got a lot of time for Lindy. Awful amount of time. Wonderful lady indeed. So, and she's like I said, she's hosted Speakeasy a couple of times now. So always like to seeing her. So yeah, okay. Now obviously we're here. First part I want to talk about you today is about your debut poetry collection. Obviously, it's rhyming poems and pictures by Peter. Now, obviously, I know this has come along because of the collaboration you did with Lindy, but tell us about then what made you want to do this collection then?
Well, it was exactly because of I know Lindy's been on and she's told a bit of the story, but basically I cajoled her into putting a few poems together that I could illustrate. And it was on the back of the virtual arts festival where she had a panel, and we said, well, it's looking a bit bland because everybody else has got a picture on the panel with the poems. And she said, well, do you want to do me a picture then? And I said, yeah, I'd love to. So I weaved the picture together, which she approved, and we put that on the festival. And from then I said to her, have you got any more stories and poems, whatever? And so we put the book together that you see with poems by Linda, pictures by Peter, the light blue book. And that sort of, sorry, go on.
No, I'm just nodding. I'm just nodding. I'm nodding in
Oh, right.
agreement.
So yeah, so that got me looking back into my archives for some of the poems I've written. And there were dark times when my father died, and I think a lot of poets have dark times that they want to release themselves, and poetry is a fantastic way of doing it. One thing I will say, and the title of my book is Rhyming Poems. I'm a rhyming poems person. I'm 75, and when I was a lad, poems always rhymed. And so all my poems nearly rhyme. Yeah, so there we go. So I got some poems together, and I put them past Lindy. There was one or two, but she said, well, that doesn't sort of stand right. Do that and do that. And so I went through the process with Lindy of editing them out and put what you see behind me together, which is the book.
Yeah, which is absolutely, yeah. You've sent me the PDF over, and I had a great time reading this before it. Really, really. I think Well, it doesn't matter with rhyming poetry too much for me because I think if it's good poetry, it can rhyme. Fair enough. Even though I'm a blank verse man, really. But we've got your character through in your pieces all the time, Peter, and the illustrations, I think, really added something to it. Now, I'm very curious to know a bit more about your meeting with L.S. Lowry as well, who's obviously one of your influences.
Yeah. Well, this is again, I mean, I suppose when you work in advertising for 50 years, you're bound to meet a few characters. Um, it was round about 75, and I was studio manager for an agency called A.H. Knowles. And Bert Knowles, who was the owner, he'd retired at the time. He still had his finger in the pie. And he bought Sam's Chop House in town. And at that time, it didn't seem anything significant to me at all. And then he told me to go along to Sam's, uh, look at the venue so that I could dress it up for the Christmas party. Because there was always a lad for sort of saving money. So I go down to Sam's Chop House, and who, what, I couldn't believe it, was sat at the bar was uh, Lawrence Stephen Lowry. And it was a double take. I thought, no, it can't be, because he was my hero at the time, up and coming artist. I'd seen some of the classical stuff that he'd done. And then when he went into his matchstick men, not matchstick men, I was knocked out by what he was doing. Not a lot of people were. They're all saying that kid stuff. Anyway, so I approached him at the bar and sort of quite politely said, "Oh, hello, Mr. Lowry. My name's Peter Topping, and I work for Bert. And he's asked me to come down and look at the place um, for our Christmas party." And Larry just looks up from his pint and says, "It's Lawrence, it's Larry. Call me Larry. Call me Larry, Peter." And I thought, oh. So from then on, for a few weeks, I'd be going in just to check out the place, and there he was, sat at the bar, and it was "Hello, Peter. Hello, Larry." So
Oh,
that's how I met Ellis Lowry.
wow. That's just an incredible story, that one, to be honest. Yeah. Oh, we talked about that before we recorded there, but you've got to mention it, yeah. So obviously, back to your collection then on it, because I wanted people to hear the story about this Lowry before I forgot it. But how did it compare for you doing your own collection by yourself? And then in contrast
Well,
to doing all your work with Andrew and obviously Lindy on
yeah.
top of that before that.
Well, I did. I'd done my own book, Smile, Dammit Smile, Chorlton, which is it's a historical look on Chorlton. And perhaps I'll read a bit from that later on if we've got
Yes,
time.
please. Yes,
But
please. I'd love to hear
that's
that.
there
Yeah.
on the back shelf there, you can see there. So that was my solo book, because Andrew did a lot of the writing for us, and I did all these sort of artwork and paintings and put the photos together and put the books together, having my experience in advertising. That was sort of, well set up for me to do the production of it. And so that was a sort of the reason that I put it together. Having the poems more or less written was good. All I needed to do then was, as I did with Lindy's book, was create or find some images that would go with the poetry. Um, and it's one of those things, because everything isn't as it seems. You might be reading about a story about a baby on a ledge, or the man in the boat on the river, but it's not really, as a lot of poetry, it's not really just about that. It's a lot deeper. I hope it's a lot deeper, because it was intended to be a lot deeper.
Yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was such a charming and really well written little book, actually, this was. So that's why. So, but I know you tend to with your art, don't you? You tend to just don't stick to one medium, do you? From what I remember with Lindy's book, particular as well. You mix and you mess with it. You do computers, you do your own stuff, do all
Yeah.
kinds of approaches, don't you?
So as a lad, as I said, I did a fine arts background, and so I was well equipped to do fine art with it. And in advertising, of course, the essence is that you do things as quickly as you can, because time's money. And so from there, advertising, we did a lot of sort of uh, creative work that was done slickly to get it on the page. Um, and we did employ airbrush artists, which I did a bit of playing with. But in the early days, around about sort of 85 onwards, computers started to arrive on the scene in the advertising agencies. And I was early uptake with computers. I was building them at the age of 26, 27. And then certainly when, the PC became popular, I'd have my own teller system and graphics card in there and sort of did a lot of work on computers. So I did a lot of design work on computers as well as hand painting. What I'd like to do at some time is to take you through to my hallway gallery, and I can show you some of my paintings, the early stuff, which were done in the style of Camille, who was a French artist from the 16th, 17th century. And that I based a lot of my work on that. But what I would do was photograph an image and then use a tablet in the same sort of style, although I'd never sort of say that I was, up with him. But, that sort of painterly style on a tablet that Hockney did. So it was that sort of thing that influenced me to sort of go on to using tablets to create artwork. From then, of course, we had various sort of programs which I adapted, whereas I could pick up the pigment from the colour image, the photograph that I'd taken, which I then enhanced in Photoshop. So pick that up and then use that to sort of dab the brush into the pigment on the computer, and then paint in the strokes on the trace that I'd done of the image. So it was actually using my skills from commercial art.
Yeah, no, of course. I get you completely. That's because you've got a great balance with your artwork on it. I'm no artist, Mr. Actually, but I can see I loved it when two Linda's book and this one as well. Is the range in it, and it gives it. I mean, how do you feel like? Do you think doing it like you've done it, it gives it a real range, doesn't it, and a versatility with your work, doesn't it? So it's
Yeah, the essence of it was to use the style that fit the mood of the poem. So I had at my sort of sleeve, up my sleeve, lots of different styles. I've got the style that I adapted from Lowry with the matchstick there, which nothing came into the poetry book that I've done now. Perhaps in future books I'll do that. Van Gogh, who was my other favourite artist, with the large sort of fat, thick brush strokes and bold black outlines, that very graphic type thing, that came into it. And then, coming from my airbrush era, some of the sort of photographic styles that you see in the book that, were sort of adapted from that sort of style end of it.
yeah, no, great. It's great because it's really, really decent stuff. This so indeed. Now, I think I want to spend some time with you now. I think we'll do the tour thing you were talking about before. So I think it's a good time to let people see that now. Now,
All right.
this is where we get a bit complicated now because I don't know how we're going to do this because there's been three screens on it. I can let's try to see what it does if we do multi-speaker. No, it doesn't do that. That's for five more people. The immense one. No. Okay, it's probably going to be the speaker, which is yourself. I don't know which one of these is going to come out at, Peter, to be honest with it. So we'll have to work it out as we go along, I suppose, won't we?
Right. Well, I've muted the other two speakers.
Yeah,
So I'm just talking to you all the time on my phone, and I'm trying to get it to sort of go to. Oh, here we go. The camera,
brilliant.
turn the camera around. All right.
Great. There we
So
are.
here we
Right.
go.
What I'll then do for you, Peter, is I'm going to mute myself or I might talk a bit in the background, but then we'll go straight to the speaker, which is yourself, okay? And that way you
Yeah.
can talk people through it, okay? It's probably easier to do it this way, I reckon, mate. And then when we've got this done, do you want to read a few poems out for us from your collection as well? To wrap it up at the
That'd be
end of it.
wonderful. That.
Yeah,
So
let's
just
like
just
go
talking
for
about
it.
the book I was referring to. That's Smile, Dammit Smile, Chorlton, which is available, and I'll give you the links to the shop where we can get it. You can get it from me or from Chorlton Bookshop. So we're going through now to what I call my hallway gallery. And basically, it's a hallway with the gallery of my work in. So here we go. We'll start at the bottom end. And you can see there that there's various styles of work. So that's done in a Lowry-esque style. And it's actually the brewery at Joseph Holt's. It's done as a letterbox image painted onto white MDF board. And then we've got, people will probably recognise that this is more of a Camille style with a sort of rag and brush type style. And you can see from that, that's viewing from Beetham House, where we see it. Above that, we've got something that's part of one of the books I wrote with Andrew, which is a book about pubs in the city centre, which you'll see across here. We have the actual cover for the book. If anybody goes onto the site, you'll see here. This is my collection of hats, which features in one of the poems which I'll be reading later. So we've got lots of different styles here. There's a sort of oil painting style, which is a friend of mine that got married. Pubs that people recognise in Chorlton, the Lloyd's Hotel. And if you're a fan of Downton, there's one of my pieces with Downton on. Going back over here, now this is something which call pastiches, where basically you copy an artist's painting, and that's a painting of gentleman looking at something by Alice Lowry. So in order to get into Lowry's head, I thought it'd be a great idea if I could copy one of his paintings. And this is real brushstrokes on canvas of Lowry's painting. And if anybody goes online to look at that, they'll notice that. And that's the man himself, painting of Lowry. These, again, are pastiches from some of his images, where you see that there's cameos taken of various sort of characters that he used in his paintings. So basically, that's about it. We've got another one up there, which is Lowry-esque, of John Willie Lee's brewery. And that is the actual Lowry impression of Sam's Chop House, where Lowry spent his time, which you see there. And basically, the gallery goes upstairs, so I won't bother you taking up there. But it's got lots of paintings in different styles. For those people from Chorlton, from Didsbury, sorry, that's the library at Didsbury. And they're in a sort of Liam Spencer style, is the Victoria Station. So basically, that's the tour of my art gallery. And in the room at the back there, which I won't take you into, there are about 100 more paintings. Well, that's from the Hat Centre. And if anybody likes Branson pickles, there's a Branson pickles. So there you go. So that's my hallway gallery in a moment. I just need to see if I can get this back here.
Incredible piece of that. Like I say, in my case, there it's easiest to mute myself for a minute. That way, we don't lose any focus on that. Then, but yeah, it's incredible. It's like, do you find obviously like where you've got so much stuff there? Like, I know what I'm like with all the books I've got. I can really struggle finding things sometimes. Do you find that yourself sometimes?
Well, I've sold quite a few of the paintings I've done, and I got colon cancer at the age of 60, and I was working full time at that time for an advertising agency for an exhibition company. I was a director there, and it was based in Blackburn, and I had to pack up doing that because I couldn't travel to Blackburn because I had a couple of foot of my colon taken out, so it wasn't a pretty sight. So that took quite a long time to recover, and so I then sort of started working from home, doing advertising stuff. Started doing my own paintings, and so I do paintings for commission. But now I just do paintings for fun, and if somebody likes one and they want to buy it and they offer me a good price, that's funny, really. Talking about prices, how people seem to think that something that takes 89 hours would be sold to them for £20. It beggars belief, you know. You say to someone, say, "Oh, that's nice. How much do you want for that?" I said, "Around about £3 grand." How much? I said, "Well,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
much? How much time do you think it took to do that?" "Oh, I'm not sure." I said, "How much do you get an hour?" £40. Well, £40. Yeah, yeah. So yeah. So divide that into three, and you get this conversation with people. Anyway, so that's how I got into the painting and writing books with Andrew, and then culminating, of course. But this isn't the end of this book. This was the beginning of a project that came about when we, as part of the Civic Society, we did some blue plaques. We've done one for the Bowling Green Hotel, one for Foster's, and a guy called Houghton Christian, and you can look this up if you go onto Facebook and go to Chorlton Blue Plaques, you'll see what we've been doing there. But Houghton Christian was a black guy who came over with a Windrush, and he set up a cricket team here with the West Indies cricket team, and he also became the first black magistrate, first black manager of the post office as well. So it was quite good. So we actually got a blue plaque set up for him, which was something that I was instrumental in. And so as part of that, the blue plaque went onto the house of the person that lived there now. And the lady's visually impaired. She's black, but likely we say visually impaired. And she said, "Yes, you can have that up. It's a pity that she won't know anything about it." So then she introduced me to a thing called Navilens. I've got a Navilens here for those who don't know what Navilens is, which is the best screen to show it on. The mobile screen, it does it matter?
1 minute. I'll just flick onto the speaker. That should bring it up if the other two are muted.
Yeah. You see that? Right. So there we go. That's a Navilens. And if anybody's got a camera active, well, it's where the you can actually scan that, and that will take you not only to the site, which is I think that one goes to the blue plaque site, Andrew's story, but it reads out what it's doing. And the clever thing about this, it's like the QR code, but the colour squares around it are the bits that the visually impaired use to sense where this code is. And so they can go out in the streets with holding the camera like this, and they'll get a beep beep, and they'll home in on this, and it will say "gents toilets" to your left, or ladies toilet, or whatever it is, refreshments ahead. So I thought, well, this is a good thing to do, to use it not to take them to toilets, but to take them to a place in my new book, which will be called Musical Poems. And this is one of the pages for it. And in the top left-hand corner there, you can see there's a Navilens code.
Wow. Hang on. Let me go back to the speaker for that.
Which one do we want it on? I'm sorry.
It's come up on the events roaming one, Peter, so that's perfect. Okay.
Events roaming. Yeah. Right, there we go. Oh, there it is. Right. So that's the code in the top. Now, there's the poem. So basically, they can read the poem, but not if you're visually impaired, of course. But if you're visually impaired, you scan the code, and that takes you to a YouTube with the poem as a song, and they'll obviously be able to listen to the song. They won't be able to see the images that they'll be on there because it's got still images that fade into each other. And for those that are deaf or hard of hearing, I've actually put the words along as captions along the bottom. So it's a multi-purpose. The next book will be a multi-purpose book that will be able to be used by visually impaired, the hard of hearing, and sighted people as well.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Now, what I always look at asking Peter is obviously what plans do creative people got coming up next to the podcast? And I think you've kind of answered that question anyway. So, do you envisage any ideas when this forthcoming collection is going to be out?
Well, I set myself a task of doing 20 poems and turning those into songs, which I've probably done about 12 of them at the moment. Sorry, I was just looking at my list. So there's 12 poems turned into songs, and then they will then have to be pasted together with images, which will be from the book. And then once I've done that, and they'll be able to put the code in the top corner. Short answer to that is hopefully before Christmas.
Oh, excellent. I wasn't aware of this one. It shows you everybody when you do podcasting sometimes, your guests can surprise you so on that one. How that been the case then? How was the process of this book compared to the rhyming poems and pictures by Peter book gone so far then?
Right. So basically, it's on the same formats as you saw from the with images in there and poems. But the added part to it, of course, is going to be the Navi Lens QR code that'll be in the top corner. But it'd be identical in style to the rhyming poems and pictures by Peter book.
Brilliant. No, good luck that straight away with that one. So, no, definitely so. I know you've read over at Speakeasy relatively recently on this. How did it feel actually reading your poems out to the performing public?
Well, as you know from my bio, I'm dyslexic.
Oh, what? Yes, you are, of course.
I was declared dyslexic at the age of 60 by my good wife, who taught children from high school who were special needs. And I was sat there one day, and she had her homework, and she had some green gels on the table, and she just happened to drop this green gel on top of a piece of copy. And I went, whoa, the lines aren't moving. And she said, what are you talking about? I said, well, the lines aren't moving. She said, well, did they move? I said, well, I'm a bit hard at reading and stuff. She said, come over here. So she gave me the full test for people that are dyslexic. She said, you're bloody dyslexic, you are. And I thought, wow, and it was one of those things like, because back in the 50s, when you went to school, you were just thick if you didn't understand how to read and write.
I had that in the 70s, so yeah, I know exactly what you mean now.
I went through a GCE process before GCSE, and I got one GCE in art, and I got an A. And basically, my mum and dad were disappointed, but that's all I needed to get into art school, which then took me to Preston Harris College and then on to Blackburn. And so in its way, I didn't need, and even in advertising days, we always had a copy checker. So I'd do something and they'd just give it me back, copy checked, and I'd just correct it, thinking I was a damn bad speller, but that's the so basically I'm a bit sort of not anxious because I'm used to performing because I'm a damn performer, but just a little bit sort of wary when I stand up on stage and I've got to read words out. So I'll tend to read them to myself before I say them. So that's my But I enjoyed doing it though. It was good. It was good fun.
Yeah, it's like I said to you, I'm dyspraxic myself, and I found out when I was 28 at university. It came up about chance. I'd struggled throughout school myself, and I left. I was in the first year of GCSEs in '88, and I struggled like hell with it. Oh God, it was a nightmare. It was that. And I came away with next to nothing myself, and it's not stopped me, but I think it does. It surprises yourself sometimes when you find out a bit later in life, I think. So yeah.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's I found straight away. It's never stopped me because I'm too single-minded like you are with it to go and do what you've done all your art and stuff. That takes some bloody paddy waddy, that does, put it bluntly. So
well, I think I'm on the autistic spectrum as well. So my wife says. So that the sort of doing things, I will pick up on something and I'll do it to death. until it's absolutely perfect. And that's the way I work with everything I do. So, hence the virtual reality exhibitions, the arts festival itself, and the books that I write with Andrew, and now onto my poems and musical poems. So they will be
Yeah.
done, and they'll be done properly.
Do you think you and Andrew got any more books in mind at the moment? Have you anything
Yes,
else
we do.
planned? Ooh.
we do. We've written a book. I don't know whether I've got one close by. It's the history of Greater Manchester by tram, which
Oh.
is that book.
Oh.
And actually, it was quite fortuitous that we had this done, because we've been trying to get in touch with Greater Manchester, Transport for Greater Manchester, to get permission, first of all, to use their Metro map, which they gave us permission to. And I thought, well, that might lead to better things. So we sent them a copy of the book. And it just went, it sort of got stuck in a corner because there was nobody there able to make any decisions of where to take it next. And what we wanted to do with these people was to get them to find outlets for us, because we're Chorlton lads and we've got our local bookshop, which we support entirely, with a view to we will not put any of our work online as e-books, because we believe that you should have the book in your hand and you must buy it either from us or your bookshop. And so with that in mind, we were looking for outlets. Well, we know we've got the library, and we know we could approach the big bookshops who offered to sell some of our other books at a real knockdown price. So we told them, where to go with that. But basically, this tells you the stories from Trafford Boy to East Didsbury. So you can either get on the tram and read the stories as you go. And these are the history of the places. It's not a book about trams, although we've been asked by Transport for Greater Manchester to write a book about the history of trams, which will be probably one of our next ones. It's a book about the history of what happened at Furswood, what happens at Chorlton, through to St. Werburgh's, Wilmslaw, etc., along the line as you go along. So this one is called Trafford Boy to East Didsbury, the history of Greater Manchester by tram. The next one that's coming out, with Andrew and I got, will probably be out for Christmas as well, is the next part of the tram route, because we've got 9 different routes that we're going to work with. The next one is Cornbrook to Exchange Square, and that's been done. But we've met at St. Werburgh's Road at the tram stop. I was involved in the tram stop being dressed by street artists. It's a project we've got to sort of get rid of graffiti artists and replace them with real street art. And the assistant head of Transport for Greater Manchester was coming along. I was hoping to meet the head himself, and then I found out on the same day that he was moving on from there, and the assistant was going to take his job. So it was very, very lucky for us. So I had a good earwig with him, showed him the book, gave him a copy, and he was up for it. So we know we need to sort of we've put a plan together of how to promote it. But what we wanted to do with that, using this Navilens scheme, is that if they buy the rights to the books from us, we'll put QR codes up at all the stops. So as you're traveling on the tram, you just scan through the window, and you can read about what's going on. And these will be put together possibly as blogs, because you know yourself, once you put a story out, somebody will come along and say, oh, did you know Mrs. Higginbottom who lived out there? Well, she married, and I wish that was in the book. So if you got in the blog, Andrew just updates the blog to add that bit of the story.
Yeah, brilliant idea.
That's where we're going next. Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. No, I can't blame you on that. I look forward to speaking to Andrew about that. I'll be speaking to you, Mr. Simpson, over that very soon. Sooner than he probably realises. Brilliant to that. Oh, good luck, mate. But definitely. Now, obviously, normal process with spoken label is it's done 2 parts, but this is a straight run through episode today. So what we're going to do is we'll do all the plug-in side of you now, Andrew, and we'll do repeat. Sorry, Andrew. Peter, you've got me talking Andrews now. First, we'll do 2 parts on the plugin side. So, obviously, for all of your bits and pieces, where do you recommend people go then to track you down and pick up your books first of all?
Okay, so the main place to go is pubbooks.co.uk. Obviously with the www in front. That'll take you to our website where you'll see all our books, Lindy's books on there, and my new one, rhyming poems and pictures. So that's the go-to place for books. Now, you can go along to Chorlton Bookshop and they stock all of our books. And if it runs out, we can replace it immediately for them. Or you can give me a ring. And can I put my phone number to you now? Is that okay?
Yeah, mention it now and tell me obviously off camera as well. That way, then if you're
Okay.
comfortable, if you're comfortable with putting your phone number on, that's fine. Okay, I don't mind
It's a
doing it.
mobile number, and if anything untoward happens, I can always block it. 07521 557 888. If you need a book, ring me up. If you're local, I'll deliver it for you free of charge. So that's how to get any of our books that you want.
Brilliant. Great stuff. Okie dokie then. Now, what we're going to do now, normally we'd pause the recording, but as this is going to be one straight video today, Peter is now going to read out a couple of bits and pieces for us, mate, aren't you? So,
Right. Have you got a choice, or shall I choose my favourite ones?
I'm always a believer, let the artist choose.
Okay. So
Now, what I'm going to do, Peter, here for you is I'm going to do this straight back to speaker for you. And in between each piece, I'll then come in with some sarcastic comment. But mostly it's going to be you on the speaker. So it'll be on the events roaming page again, Peter, I think, in this one.
Okay.
Over to you, mate.
All right. So as you can see, I'm wearing one of my favourite hats, which you saw a selection of in the hallway. When I wrote this piece, I had 60 hats, and I've now got just over 80. So this piece is called My Favourite Hat. Okay. So, oh, cherished hat upon my head, your brim, your charm, the life you've led, a faithful friend through thick and thin. In every trial, you'll help me win. You sit aloft with quiet grace, a gentle touch upon my face. With fabric fine and stitches neat, you make my outfit quite complete. In summer's heat and winter's chill, you're up there, you know the drill. A shield, a style, a statement bold, my pride and joy, in truth be told. You've seen the world from heights above, a witness to the things I love. Through journeys far and moments near, you've been my comfort ever dear. So here's to you, my hat so fine, a treasure of this life of mine. May you rest easy, fit just right, my favourite hat, you're my delight. By the way, I must confess, I have 60 hats more or less, and depending on my mood that day, I have a choice from my huge array.
Brilliant. Brilliant stuff. Now, we have hinted twice now, and probably need to clarify this with Peter, with people. Obviously, about your love of hats. Where did this come from?
Right. Well, it came from the fact that our local bookshop, our local craft shop in Chorlton on the precinct, the art shop, who sold hats and handbags, was having a sale on hats. And I noticed these in there. First of all, she had them on there for £15 a hat, and I thought, it'll look all right, but it's a bit steep for that. But it's going back to what I've just said about painting, isn't it? You know, it's a value of nothing, the price of everything. So I was a bit reluctant to pay £15, but she brought them down to £10. So I chose a couple of the hats out, and I think one of them, quick hat change.
Musical accompaniment.
Was my Van Gogh hat for the Story Night, and that was one of the first ones I bought. And so I came away with two hats, so I've been very pleased. As time went on, they decided, because the precinct was closing, to bring the hats down in price again. So she brought them down for £2 for £10, and I bought some more then. And then as she got real dire straits, they came down for two for a fiver, and so I bought some more. But I ran out of hats that I liked, so I'd gone on the internet because I was trying to find a bee hat, and a hat with lots of bees on it rather than just a single bee motif, and I couldn't find one. Anyway, it happened that family in Berlin found one for me and sent it over for me 75th birthday. So I got me bee hat, but there was still a shortage of hats that I needed, and I went to Temu, and I'm not broadcasting whether, but it is safe on Temu, and they had hundreds of them, and you all right, you argue the fact that these are made in sweatshops by people and sold at a profit, but I thought, well, if I went right to the source of the people that were actually making them, at least I'm cutting the middleman out, who's buying something for £1.50, £2, and selling it for 10 to 15. So that's what I did. So I stocked up. I've got two more coming in the next month. But I also found that someone on there would actually do hats to your bespoke design. That's something I couldn't find in Chorlton. I was willing to buy a sheet of material or design it myself with bees on, but I couldn't get someone to make a hat. And the thing about these hats, everybody knows, there's the coward's way of wearing them, which is like that, with a hint underneath of what's going on, or the real way to wear them with a pattern out. So I got my latest book and did a step and repeat pattern of it and sent it off, and that's going to come to me around about 14th of October as a finished hat for £6.
Wow.
So if that works, I can do all my books. I can do Chorlton Civic Society logos. I can do the Chorlton Arts Festival logos and things like that. We can have not just T-shirts, which you might notice I've got my T-shirt on, but hats as well.
Brilliant.
So there you go.
Great stuff. Now, I'm conscious of the time. So we promised to keep this below an hour. So, and we've already done 48 minutes here. So, do you want to read us a couple of poems that take us away tonight, Peter?
Yes, okay. Right. I'm going to read you about my favourite meal. And being a lad from Preston, it has to be fish and chips. And so this is my favourite meal. And there's the images that go with it. And the story is that when I'm so hungry and ready to cry, I find my comfort in a plate piled high. Fish and chips, the meal for me, with mushy peas and gallons of tea. First the fish, a golden treasure, crispy battered for my pleasure. Cod and haddock, flaky and tender, the batter whisked by hand, not in a blender. Next the chips, thick and strong. Eat them on butties, you can't go wrong. If anybody knows what a butty is, it's a sandwich. Salted soldiers marching in unison, eating chips and salt, what a union. And on the side, green, thick and creamy, mushy peas, all hot and steamy. That seems to get a laugh sometimes, that. Soft and sweet, they're a British invention. The taste on their own is too good to mention. Don't forget the vinegar, a tangy rain, drizzled over chips again and again. It lingers on the tongue, the senses away. Chip shop vinegar is my favourite make.
You're making me
Fish and
hungry.
chips eaten by every generation, from young to old, all across the nation. Grandparents tell tales of wartime queues, while kids dip chips in sauce, quite amused. And then we have some kids dipping in chips. So it's like school, isn't it? So here's to fish and chips and that salt shake case, a meal that heals hunger, a culinary bliss. It's a taste of home, not to be missed. A reminder that life's simple joys exist. Listen to my words, I implore. Raise your forks and shout for more. Insist on fish and chips and mushy peas every day and night for dinner and teas.
Fantastic. Apologies for interrupting you, Peter. You caught me completely out there for a second.
You thought I'd finished. It was so good.
Yeah, I did. No, you made me hungry now as well. But I'll tell you off mic in a bit. Where we and Amanda live, we've got a chip shop about 2 minutes walk for us. but it's shut at the minute because it got hit by a stolen car the other week. So we're chip shopless at the moment. So, oh, anyway, listen, mate, we've got
Last
time. Two more pieces, okay? Go
two
for it,
more.
mate. Yeah, give us two more,
All
mate.
right. Okay. So just talking about your hunger, here we have one called hunger. And again, we need to sort of look at hunger and what it means. So what do you mean by craving? Food and sex, both amazing. Where hunger, desire intertwine, eating makes love, making love are both divine. We masticate, we savour, swallow, together relaxed as we wallow. Textures collide, delicious and smooth. Wake up your senses, get in the mood. Bodies entwine, a dance unplanned. Skin against skin, desire out of hand. Lips meet, a kiss, a whispered plea. A hunger greater than you and me. The taste of salt on skin, the thrill, as if the universe stood still. Rhythmic sync, hearts raise, breaths aligned. Banquet of touch where souls entwine. And as the flames of passion rise, we savour love's delicious ties. Thrills unfold and flavours burst. Food or desire, which comes first. And there we have pictures of people exhausted by eating. One more?
Yes, please. Oh, that's excellent. Oh,
Okay.
I am going to be
Right.
walking down to the chip shop about half an hour's walk after it now. I'm going to some chips now after this. So
Okay.
take it away, mate.
All right. The next one is Baby on the Ledge. And again, as I say, it's not everything's not quite what it seems. Upon the rooftop's dizzy ledge, a baby sits close to the edge. Above the city's clamour and sprawl, tiny fingers stop its fall. The tower block stands tall and stern, concrete and glass at every turn. But here's the little one, sat wide-eyed, her worries and fears put aside. The strong wind blows in gusts so cruel. It knows the risk, it starts the duel. Blowing softly, then strong, left then right. Life, like life, she teeters in plain sight. And if by instinct the baby knows she won't fall when the strong wind blows, each gust threatens to snatch her away, but she sits there calm and collected all day. The tower block shadows stretch so long, and danger lurks as time goes on. Traffic roars and storm gathers beneath. Tragedy waits with its jagged teeth. But hold the course in these eyes. Hold the courage in these eyes, and defiance against gravity's lies. She laughs at fear, defies the odds, as if saying, I'm with the gods. And so this rooftop drama will show not to fear the things that we don't know. Cling to life's important moments with hearts ablaze, balancing dreams and fears in our life's maze. So let us be like the rooftop child, embracing the edge, the wind, and the wild. For every heartbeat is amazing proof that in precarious moments we find our truth. And the footnote says, even atop the tallest tower block, life's fragility is our greatest rock. And there's a little one being saved from falling over the top.
Oh, great stuff, Peter. It's been an absolute pleasure today. I've actually really enjoyed this today, mate. So it's been now we've got about a couple minutes spare, mate. So give us the hard sell again, mate. Where can people get hold of your collection again then? Just to jog their memory.
Right. So you've got www.pubbooks.co.uk, and that's the best place. You can go to Facebook and look at paintings from pictures on Facebook. You can see some of my paintings, and that's really the best places to go. If you want a quick link to the Chorlton Arts Festival, where you can see what's happening in the festival, you can look at the virtual festival, which we didn't get round to do today, but you can go on there. Just go along to chorltonartsfestival.org, and you'll find the link to the Virtual Arts Festival, the link to all the festivals. And for people that are from Chorlton, you're invited again in May to be part of the festival. If you're not in Chorlton, you're invited to go on to the virtual festival, and it's worldwide this, so we have people from all over the world in the virtual festival, both literary arts and visual arts.
Perfect. That sounds great to me. We'll have to get you back on next year, Peter, for the next Chorlton Arts Festival the next year, to be honest, definitely. Like I said, I had the feeling today, people are wondering, I knew we'd be talking an hour close to just the way he bits and pieces today. So it's been a pleasure, Peter.
Thanks very much.
I've
Thank you,
absolutely
Andrew.
loved it today, mate. So hang around, because I do need to talk to you off mic anyway. But thank you again, mate. This will be the first of several. I know straight away what I know you, mate. So till next time, my friend. Thank you again, mate.
Thank you very much.
Okay, guys and girls. Yes, that's it for another episode of Spoken Label today. Kudos to my friend Pete Topping, and we will see you all next time. Now, don't forget, as Don Callis over at AEW Wrestling says, stay safe and stay over. See you all next time.